right, here's how we're gonna handle price objections for coffee carts. I wanna show you kind of the two big buckets of how we're gonna handle two types of objections when it comes to price. And the proof that I have behind this is I ran a coffee cart business for coming up for 5 years now. We've done, I think, over 300 events. We've done $10,000 months at least 20 to 30 times. And we've had a decent amount of 20K months and then a couple of 30K months. And this is also in a price sensitive market. So I really understand how to handle price objections, because when you are in it, you're gonna have price objections anywhere you go. But when you are more in a price sensitive market for carts that are in a small to mid-sized city, which is gonna be a lot of people, and you're not in LA, Miami, Seattle, New York, Chicago, Dallas, those types of cities where it's like the top 25, 30 cities where they have massive budgets and they're just writing checks left and right. I'm not saying it's easy. It's just, you have less of price objections because people understand what you're kind of selling. And there's still gonna be nuances to big cities because coffee catering, high-end coffee catering is becoming more popular. It's definitely new. So that is my promise to you. I want to give back a lot of value and in order and give you some tangible stuff on how to handle price objections, because we all know the pain point of you send out a quote or you get a lead, you send out a quote, you're excited, they come back and they say, you're too expensive, one we went with someone else. You don't hear from them. And then, or like it's a bidding war and you're just dropping your price lower and lower and lower. And then after 2-3 months of that, you're just exhausted. And really this can apply to any business. The more I've learned about business within mowing business and then now coffee catering business, and even my coaching business, handling objections is a huge thing in sales. But this is coffee carts. I want to talk specifically about this. There's a gap in the market. I want to fill it. When it comes to coffee catering, I think the market is really underserved when it comes to this type of stuff, which is sales, marketing, pricing, structure, navigating event execution, hiring talent. And I think it's overserved when it comes to like dialing in espresso, running your carts, what type of machines to get, what type of service to get, right? And I don't think those things are bad. I just know my business drastically changed. My net worth, my monthly income went up the more I focused on this type of stuff rather than the dialing in espresso and what type of service you're gonna have. So we need to understand what is really a price objection. So, and kind of where those buckets fall. Now, I want to talk on one important part. I thought about leaving it at the end, but I think it's great just to get out of the way. So what this is not, is price objection is not for a bad lead, okay? All right, so this is someone that really can't afford your service at all. Like they have $200 in their bank account. They don't see the experience whatsoever. And a good booking rate, right, is going to be, which some of you guys might be surprised, is around 20 to 30%, depending on what your market is. We last year were like around 18%. We're in a more price sensitive market, but we were growing. So there's different ways to track booking rates and metrics. So sometimes you can be under but make more. And I don't want to get into that. Like that's a whole different ordeal. But regardless, 20 to 30% booking rate. So that means around, we'll say an average 2.5 out of 10 people, if they reach out to you and you close them, that's good. And so a lot of times in the beginning, we think that that's, especially in the beginning, and I talk to a lot of people, we think that we have to close like 5 or 6 or 7 out of 10. And if you're priced correctly, this is going to be that booking rate. If you're not priced correctly, you might have a 7 out of 10, but you're doing like $300, $400 events. Some of you guys are watching this and you're like, yeah, I want to get out of that. Because you realize you do the events, it's not worth it, right? So a 1 hour event is literally, 4 hours when you add it in total, maybe sometimes 5, depending on how good you are with your event execution and getting supplies and getting in and out. So how do I handle price objections? I want to kind of show you that booking rate, give you the foundation, okay? So we're gonna go ahead, take it off. So it's not trying to handle a bad lead, right? If someone can't afford your service, it doesn't matter. And as much as if like, I'm gonna say, for example, we serve homeless people, like we partner with them, but if a homeless person reached out to you, fill out your form, guys, they just don't have money. That's it. We're not judging someone for that, no. But I'm just giving you an example. Like no matter how bad they want your service, we can't handle any type of price objection because They just don't have the money to book. And so that's what I want to say. Like a lot of times I think we do make mistakes, maybe 50% of the time, where price objections, no matter what we can do to a bad lead, and that's why I create like a minimum experience. I want to put that on our website. If they can't afford really the minimum package, then we're not going to really handle that objection. There's some nuances to what we can do. Maybe we downsell them into like a drip coffee to a bottled latte, see if we can make them somewhat worth something, I guess, paying us something, so our lead doesn't cost us money and we're not getting anything out of it. But most of the time, you guys are probably thinking you can try to, at least for us, when we downsell drip coffee or bottled lattes, it might work like 1 out of 30 times. But most people are wanting the coffee cart experience, the private experience. And so most people want the Ferrari, but they have the budget of a Toyota. So we're not going to handle those. So get that out of the door. I'm trying to think of some tactical ways to understand a bad lead. A bad lead is someone that really can't afford your minimum service. That's what I would consider. So someone that if your minimum service is like $600 for an hour and they're at $300 or $400, then we're not handling their price objections. They're just not a good fit. Technically, the best framework would be it's like all qualified leads. And so the only thing you're handling is true price objections, not a bad fit. So a bad lead doesn't count for price objection, okay? So this could be maybe 2 or 3 out of 10 leads, and maybe 4 or 5 are like good quality leads. So now into the nitty gritty, wanted to get that out of the way, build out some foundation, make you guys maybe feel a little bit better. In the beginning, I just tried to like handle everything, and I was realizing these guys are just not a good fit. Like they really should not be reaching out to our forum, pop-up markets, farmer market stuff. Just not it, like popping up a couple $100. Just I can't handle that. There's nothing we can do, right? Like they have the budget, and I wish I had more of a budget, but we have to operate a profitable business. That's how I do things, and hopefully you're the same. And so one is going to be budget, okay? And then the next is going to be, if I can even spell perceived value, okay? So this I would say might happen, at least for me, maybe because we're taking away all the bad leads, but this bucket for this is going to be probably 30-40% of the time, but we'll just say 30% of the time, because everyone else, if they don't have like the right budget, they're going to be gone. But this is something where they're like, hey, we didn't budget for this. We didn't realize it would be this expensive. Maybe they have the minimum experience. Like they have the minimum requirement of booking with you, and maybe they add like the latte prints, or maybe they added the custom bottle lattes, whatever. But our main goal is to not just cut down price, but what it is to take away scope, make like the scope of the work, okay? So, and it's practically the same thing, but we're not saying price. Like framing everything is so important. So we're not saying, well, we can lower the price. We say, hey, what we can do instead of like a 2-hour service, we can go down to like a 1.5 service. And then we will still be able to have like a streamlined service, and it'll be for this price. And so we don't want to lead with price because then we're just being in a commodity, and they're not going to understand why you're priced that much until we frame things. And so I'd say 30% of the events that we do that have, when we handle price objections, is probably within this bucket where they have a 2-hour event. They want to serve 150 people, we can serve 120. And we just give them options. Say, hey, if we want to do this, it's gonna be 2.5 hours. And so what we can do is like almost like upsell to downsell. So that's a different little hack real quick. But sometimes I like to like up the price and say, this is what we can do it for. And then now we can compare it, and they look at the budget and they're thinking, okay, we'll just stick with the 2 hours. We're still good with 120 people. If the other people can't, get it, they don't get it. That's just what we can do, and we'd rather be able to have a coffee cart service and no coffee cart service. And you'd be surprised sometimes when you compare value, you can actually upsell them, and that will kind of come into perceived value, but you kind of upsell them to get like a higher ticket item. So this is going to be how we're handling budgets. We want to take away things of value, right? We're stripping that away, they're just anchoring it in price. I think a lot of people just say, okay, well, we do it for 300, 400, don't discount. Like never discount in this budget. Never minimize your price and leaving the same amount of value. So if you were taking price away, something needs to go, and we need to frame it appropriately. Now, 70% of the time, I would say it's going to be in this perceived value. People are probably asking, we've done cheaper before, or we've done cheaper. They've had a coffee cart before, or some type of experience that it's been way cheaper. Maybe they're comparing other coffee carts to you right now, comparing the quotes. Okay, so comparing coffee carts. Maybe it's why do we need the branded cart, right? Questioning branding. They want it, like you're trying to upsell them, or they're questioning what does it cost for branding. We're going to anchor value, and so what all this means when they're saying, we've done it for cheaper, we're comparing other vendors, why don't you have to pay extra for branding or other stuff? They just don't understand the value, guys. Like they have the money, like they're looking for other people, but they're like, why would I spend more on you? Why would I book you? Why would I book you over other people? Why would I spend more money on branded? They don't understand it because if they understood the value, then they would pay for it, right? And so a lot of times the wrong thinking is thinking that we're going to handle price objections just by lowering the price and discounting, and both of those, like that never really works. There's a way to do that, like partnership rates and discounts, but there's a whole separate video in itself too. And so we have to understand that it's just a lack of value. You have to educate. And one of the biggest things I see is we don't want to talk about features, right? They just think about extra coffee, extra espresso. We want to talk about the experience. What does a client really want? What are they afraid of? Maybe they're afraid that the event's not going to turn out well. Maybe they don't know what a full coffee cart service might entail. Maybe they don't know the pain points of what we're going to be able to take away from them, and that we manage most of the event if you're good. And so that's like what not to do and what to do. And one of the best ways that we can really just ask the question, like a great thing that you can literally just put on your email that really works wonders, is this: any objection. This is going to go for budget and kind of perceived value, kind of handles both of it. I just want to give you kind of two buckets to understand what type of mindset people usually have when they're coming in and they have some type of price objection, or they're not wanting to book, or they're questioning things. So this is going to be great either over the phone, email, or text. I use this a lot. And it says, is the concern more about staying within budget or making sure the experience is worth it? And it works wonders because it's a great way to frame it to the client, handle their objection, ask them one question, but they're able to compare. And now if people are really worried about within budget, you meet them where they're at. And you're saying, all right, cool. If the concern is more about staying within budget, I can give you that option. If the concern is more about making sure the experience is worth it, I can give you that option. And now people can compare whether they're on the bucket of like the budget side, or they want more of the experience. I don't know if it's worth it or why you're a better vendor. And they can compartmentalize. Most people don't do that. They're looking at one option. They just think it's $800, this one's $600, this one's $700. What's the difference? It's coffee catering, right? And so by us able to frame this question, they're able to separate, okay, so that it's a difference for me. So if we're willing to stay within budget, they can give me an option. It's gonna be more budget centric, but it's gonna still meet my needs if I'm a client that's looking just for budget. But it was more about making sure the experience is, now they anchor the higher value to the experience, which in higher value equals higher price. And so now they're willing to spend more. So sometimes we just ask so many questions, we lower price, we do discounts, just give this some simple email. And hopefully, this is probably something I teach more in the mentorship, have more time to go over, but this is a simple framework, a simple question. You can change it a little bit. You can honestly just keep it the same. But people, when they're like a qualified lead, they want you in the back of their mind, they want you to really sell yourself on, they want to make sure that they feel like they're a good fit, right? No one wants to buy something that doesn't feel like a good fit or they're not heard. And so when you just ask the basic questions where you don't understand why you're getting objections, you're going to be like every other events company, every other business. And we both know that the lower you get, like you never make much money, and now it's just a race to the bottom. I like to be at the race to the top, and I like to battle against experience and high value. And if they are within budget, I still like to frame, okay, if you are looking for more budget friendly option, it's going to be different than the end all be all. Now they compare price. A lot of times we'll have people come in and like, I'll just go with this, cool. We'll ask them, is your main concern more about staying within budget or making sure the experience is worth it? And you know what? Like 7, 8 out of 10 times, they're saying the experience is worth it. that we sell in the higher thing. But before that, they thought all of it's the same package. Like, why would I spend more? And so when you can kind of separate that two in a great way, you're leading them on a path. You're going to be able to book more and handle better pricing objections, and also book from other competitors. So hope that helps.